All right, we're gonna go over hook line breathing. So in the hook line position, we're gonna lie flat on our back with our knees bent and our feet flat on the floor or table in this case. First thing we're gonna talk about, we're gonna work our way up the body, are the feet. So it's really important in a hook line position that we grab what we call an early foot contact. And that means that we need all 4 points of contact on the bottom of our foot. So we need the whole heel, both sides, making contact with the table. We need the first metatarsal head, which is like the knuckle under your big toe, and the fifth metatarsal head, which is the knuckle under your pinky toe or little toe. Those all need to be rooted into the table or floor, and you're creating a light amount of pressure into the table or floor. You're not going to be able to create a ton of pressure in this case. As far as how far the feet should be positioned from your hips, that's going to depend on the individual. So some individuals will feel like they can get their foot contacts further away from the hips, and some people will need to bring the feet closer in towards their hips to gather a foot contact. Next thing is foot width. So that's going to depend largely on where you are right now in your movement. So if you're pushed out to the side, you're somebody that when you lay flat down on the floor, your feet kind of splay out like this, you might need to go wider. But again, this is going to depend on where you can easily capture those foot contacts. So if you have them in narrow and you're having trouble, you're rolling to the outside of your feet, move out wider, put a wider object between your knees, which we'll talk about in a second. So that's the feet. Next thing, we're going to move up to the legs or the thighs. We're going to take a yoga block in this case. We're going to have Coach Jake give that a light hold between his knees. He's not squeezing the crap out of it. He's just creating enough pressure to keep the yoga block in place. Again, this could be a med ball of various sizes depending on where or how wide you're putting your feet. Giving that yoga block or med ball a little bit of a pull is going to help you create those inside foot contacts and keep you from splaying out like we talked about before. Next is the hips. All right, we're not doing anything crazy with our hips in a hook line position. So we're not pulling them up off of the table. We're not trying to tilt them posteriorly. We're just trying to let them sit heavy so you can feel those back hip bones heavy against the table or heavy against the floor. Next thing we get to is our thorax, rib cage area, and we're going to talk about that in terms of how we're breathing. Okay, so for this example, Jake is actually going to start by digging his fingers lightly into his lower abdominals, and that's going to just give him some feedback on what we're trying to feel here when we're breathing. So he's going to take a silent inhale in through the nose, not with a lot of tension, nice and easy, but he's going to make it as long as possible, 5, 6, 7 seconds in, and then he's going to exhale nice and easy out through his mouth. When he does that, he should feel his belly button just kind of melt down into the table or floor, and with that should be an associated closure of the rib cage. So he's going to do that again. Nice, easy inhale through the nose, and then a nice, easy, long exhale where he lets that belly melt down to the table. Once he gets that initial kind of closure of the rib cage, the belly button sitting down, he's trying to keep it there. And what I like to cue is actually thinking about trying to expand the air into the floor, into the table. We don't want it moving just out to the side. We want it moving into the front and into the back. Obviously, the table or floor is creating a bit of a constraint here on how much air we can put into our back. But if we cue an expansion into the table or the floor, that's going to help us expand front to back. Last thing would be head position. He's just resting his head nice and easy. He's not tucking his chin aggressively. He's also not sticking his chin up too much. He's just leaving that airway open so that he can get nice inhales and nice exhales through this exercise.